Well, hello everyone. It's like talk to you about it's like for the Matthew MaDream is it's like right here is talking about with Matthew MaDream is talking about what I mentioned from the previous is talk about with homework, and of course the things I can do, and then of course right here is using a telephone. Right here is you have right here is a telephone, is using a telephone, and of course like with MaDream, and of course with organizing the files, and then of course with the things is like it's like for you say the things that I can do, of course say on my own task it is such as what you call is that maybe remembering a few numbers it is, and then of course a few other things also as well as computers, and then along with say reading books. But on the other hand too, that knowing about is you could probably think about is some people probably say that never say never, and of course it's like always say working on the possibility, as so far as you say is a possibility forever or anything like that. But if most of us were ever heard of about is that the fact about between the things that you can do and then the things that you can't do, because I remember when I was in school is knowing about like with me that knowing is like that person that knowing that would wear glasses. I think I wore glasses ever since I was in say in grade school was, and all about like this would have been me back about nearly 13-14 years ago was, and I can just remember it's like that you wear glasses, and knowing about as a teacher, the teacher would be like Mr. McGuire, you need to do your homework. But like this, like well maybe if I I don't want to be you say a scientist, I don't want to be an archaeologist. It's like I don't I don't even want to be a lawyer. I don't I don't want to be let's say a so-called therapist or anything like that. And all about like really it's like, well, what do you want to be? What do you like? I don't know, but I'll let you know, okay? But other than that, it's talking about with most kids, it's like whoever that whenever if you were to go to school a lot of times is the thing about that between the things that you do like to do and the things that you don't, and then of course the things that that more likely you could probably think about maybe with some adults too, huh? Some adults may think that there are some things that you do have to do and some things you don't have to do, but knowing about it's like if I were to wear these glasses, these old glasses of mine, that knowing about the fact about the things that I can do, of course, really. I remember when I was in school that it was hard for me to, of course, to write my own name, of course, those couple of times, and that knowing about that once or twice I would go to school, and then the teacher would be like, put your glasses on, read the numbers on the board, read the letters and the numbers on the board, and then once or twice I would even forget my glasses and kind of have to position them like this, and knowing about it's like, okay, A, B, you see, do you saw or anything like that? But on the other hand too, that knowing about with glasses, I had about 4 of them, of course, that had whenever my vision had changed. But of course, one of my reasons about say what you call it's like what you call it's like for learning disabilities, that knowing about with me that there may be a lot of things that were on what you say is my IEP, is like knowing about what the teacher thought that that I had problems who say reading and understanding words and such, etc., etc. But on the other hand too, that knowing about is like that with the things that more likely that always a lot of times interested the teachers is knowing about the fact that it's like I tried hard and try my best, and knowing about the fact about that that something that you can make. Something that you can make that maybe you can excite the class, like, and what is this shape called? What is this shape called? And knowing about how many sides does it have? That type of stuff. And knowing about that, is this shape called a house? Is it called a house, or is it called a business introduction, say building? Or is it called the international finances or anything like that? But other than that, it's talking about right here is like that meaning for it's like for what you call it is like the Matthew MaDream. It's talking about it's like and you can do this. It's like knowing about if anybody were to think about that that after about maybe 15-20 years or so, you could probably think about is like that if you wanted to what you call think about, it's like with where you think you would be maybe in the next 15-20 years from now. You could probably think about driving trucks, or maybe owning a house, or driving an automobile, maybe flying an airplane, stuff like that. But then on your hand too, that knowing about is like, yeah, think about something that you can make. So something that you can make that more likely that that people that may come interest with a few people it is. And that knowing about is like the type of shapes. It's like, what does it do? What does it do? And then other than that, knowing about with me, and I probably spent a lot of my times thinking about the fact that with my disability, it's like, really, yeah, there's a thing about you, like, and if you cannot, give you this thing right here, you can go ahead and check out this book or this calculator right here. If you can't read the numbers right here, like, can you do 8 times 8 times 8 equals right here on the calculator, and knowing about what is the answer. Like with me, I'm not good at math. I guess really that people say there may be some people that are good at math, but then of course with me, that knowing about with me is like, yeah, that a lot of people use the word by name, they suck or whatever, but I really think that the actual definition would be for the words, like if you think, well, I'm not good at this. Well, I guess it just takes practice, don't it? It's like you can do this. But other than that, it's like talk about with my teachers a lot of times, is that knowing about that, yeah, really, we did not go to school, really to just say, to pick on another kid, knowing about the fact that, if you don't know how to use one of these, what you call, it's like use one of these right here, knowing about, it's like with the e-reader. You got the e-reader right here, and knowing like, okay, follow the curve, and knowing about this, like, and yeah, you also need the Wi-Fi connection in order to be able to use it too. What's Wi-Fi? Well, I mean, they push a few buttons. Okay, well, there ain't no buttons on this thing. I'm like, how am I supposed to be able to use it, huh? How do I use this right here? But on the other hand, too, knowing about really, it's like with not too many teachers or supporters or whatever you call it. Like, what am I supposed to do? Huh? But on the other hand, too, that knowing about is that really something that interests you about the device, really, that what you call, it makes it interesting, knowing about this is really what you like to do. It's like you buy the stuff and knowing about the fact about, it's not really what I call about spending money. It's of course is about using your talents as well. But other than that is knowing about between the shape. It's like what do you call this? What do you call that? Is knowing about yeah the things that you do like to do. It's like what do you like to do during your spare time or anything like that. And more likely I'll probably say that that my answer would more likely be is like knowing about, it's like for Matthew MaDream, it's like knowing about whoever is interested, that whatever that comes to my mind is talk about this, like what you call is for Matthew MaDream. And of course I'll probably say that with me that with me that I may have some problems in knowing about spelling, and of course with learning different stuff it is, but more likely you could probably think about is that really that anybody would say, I guess say everybody's say different, and then of course that have our own everybody's only that everybody has their own say opinions it is. But then on your hand too, that knowing about the things I would usually say is like really the type of people that think about that they come from other countries and not knowing maybe all about maybe different languages. But then of course I think that it's really interesting, really, I think, to be able to learn new stuff, especially about, it's like, maybe the different cultures and stuff like that. You can learn if you go, visit different places in the world, and knowing about, it's like, this is how they do this is how they do that. And knowing about, really, if this was what you call, it's like a world history project, knowing about with me is like, what'd you learn? Well, I learned that knowing about the fact about that, yeah, this is how they live and this is how they work. But other than that, is knowing about with me is like so far as what you call is like for the Maydream. You just say it's like you'll never say never. Say always say working on the possibility. So far as for possibility forever. Talking about it's like what you call is for Matthew MaDream.